Last year, more than 25% of students in Ohio were considered chronically absent. Students only need to miss 2 to 3 days per month to be considered chronically absent. These days add up by the end of the year. Each chronically absent student is missing nearly 1 month of school. Last year across Ohio, 1 out of every 4 of our children missed a month of school. In our biggest cities, the number is significantly higher. When students are not in school, they aren't learning, and the consequences are significant. Students with good attendance are 3 times more likely to be proficient readers, nearly 4 times more likely to be proficient in math, almost 12 times more likely to graduate on time than students who are chronically absent. Those numbers should not really surprise anybody. Chronic absence isn't just a school problem. It is a community problem. It is a state problem. It's also a parent problem. Attendance is everyone's responsibility. Schools simply cannot do this work alone. Everyone in the community has a vested interest in students being present, engaged, and learning. Students become tomorrow's leaders and innovators. When our children succeed, communities succeed. It's just the way it is. Attendance matters to all of us. We need to start a conversation about attendance in Ohio. And we need to start that conversation in different communities. And what we're going to announce today will help communities actually have that intelligent conversation. So today I'm proud to announce that we are launching an all-new statewide attendance dashboard. It is live right now, attendance.ohio.gov, attendance.ohio.gov. This dashboard will give schools, families, and communities an unprecedented level of information about when students are in school and when they're not. For the first time, we'll have attendance data updated weekly. Previously, this information was only released with state report cards each fall, long after any of the problems could be addressed. Now communities won't have to wait months to understand what's happening inside their schools. This new public school tool, tool shows chronic absence statewide, and it does it by district, it does it by school, and it does it down to the actual grade level. So it's information that is usable, it's information that's timely, it's information that's important. The dashboard will help schools understand attendance patterns and intervene early if needed. It will also help the community understand what's going on. Now Director Dakin will walk you through the dashboard to show us how it can be used to help keep more Ohio children in our classrooms. Steve?
Thank you, Governor. Before I start, there's some people that we'd like to thank at the department. We can't do this by ourselves, and one of the most important partners that we have is the Stay in the Game Network. You may be familiar with the Stay in the Game Network, but it's launched by the Cleveland Browns Foundation. It's a partnership between the foundation, the Ohio Department of Education and Workforce, Harvard's Proving Ground, and is managed today by Battelle. So we're extremely grateful for that partnership. A couple of fun facts. To our knowledge, we are the second state that has created an attendance dashboard that updates with this level of frequency. We know of 3 states who have attendance dashboards, but we are the second state that updates it on a weekly basis, and we're very proud of that. There's 2 core features that I'm going to highlight today that I think is really, really important, and the governor mentioned some of that, but it does disaggregate and track trends and patterns at the state, district, building, and by grade level. It's the first time we've had a tool like that in this state. The second piece, I would say that it's designed to do precisely what the governor just said, and that is to initiate community conversations, to think about what communities can do to assist schools, assist parents, to make sure our young people are attending school. So the first slide I'll show you is kind of a statewide picture of the dashboard. And you can see that there's data there. It goes week by week. And so what it does is capture it at a state level of where trends are, and we can see trends as they continue to emerge throughout the school year. This is the first time that we have data like that. And it's really important for us to be able to move those conversations that I referenced before. So if we scroll down on this page, we see that there are a list of school districts that are participating in the attendance dashboard. This is an incredibly important feature because you can see that it highlights the percentage of chronic absenteeism and the week-to-week changes that occur during the given year. The next page, the next place to highlight. So you can go into this dashboard and you can find your school district. For families, community partners, educators, this is a quick way to go find information right now. And so that's an important feature that we have. We believe transparency helps get things done. It helps create those conversations. And so making this data available to everybody has been a very important goal from the very beginning. On the next slide, you'll see a district view. So similar to the state view, it's a district view, district by district. And in this particular case, we're highlighting Oak Hills Local School District in Hamilton County. And again, you can see that kind of week-to-week progression of attendance. And then, again, this would be very helpful for individual communities to work with their schools to look at trends as they persist throughout the school year. The next one is you can select the school within a district. So you can go at that school building level, do the same thing, and be able to see building by building what's happening in a particular district. And we know that absenteeism, the root causes of absenteeism sometimes vary based on buildings, based on grade levels. We know that sometimes high school attendance is a very different set of root causes than maybe elementary attendance. This is a tool that will help us identify those particular trends. The next slide is by school. So again, staying with Oak Hills in Hamilton County, this is John Foster Dulles Elementary School. Same thing. It's a week-by-week comparison looking at trends. I'm going to continue to emphasize the word trends because that's what this particular tool highlights is trends and patterns in attendance. And the key to that is to intervene right away when we see trends that are not going the right way. So principals and staff can quickly identify these patterns and they can work with others in their community to intervene appropriately. So the next slide is also a grade level view of what happens. And again, it goes back to what I said earlier about high school root causes and elementary root causes may be very, very different. And again, this helps communities understand the interventions needed at a particular grade level and what kind of supports would be necessary based on the age group of young people. The last slide, or one of the last slides, would be there's an opportunity to go out and compare. And this is a very flexible tool because you can go out and compare by districts, by buildings, by counties, by regions, and it has flexibility that the user determines who they want to compare it to. And we think that's important too. We know that a lot of times that happens out in districts. They want to learn from each other. If you see somebody really knocking it out of the ballpark, there's an opportunity there to learn more. And we think shining a light on that makes a whole lot of difference for a lot of schools. And then the last slide I'm going to talk about is really the notion of consistent improvement. That is the point here, is to improve where we are. And so we're highlighting districts that are defying the odds, and their attendance rates are improving dramatically over a period of time. And we're really proud to have that particular feature of this tool. I think finally a couple things, just a couple remarks. One is that at this point in time, and again, this is as of April 15th, we have about 24% of our districts and schools who have not yet participated in sharing their data. There's a whole lot of reasons for that. And we're working actually with a lot of those districts. We do not have a unified data system in our state. So one of the challenges that we have is there are different data systems that have to talk to this system. And so we're working through with many of our districts on that. Much of this, many of these 24% districts, we are actively working with them to solve and resolve those technical problems that they're having. The more data we have, the better and more robust the system is. And that's an important point for us as we seek to get all our districts participating in the dashboard. And I can't emphasize enough, even as a former school superintendent, how important it was for me to be able to engage community in solving big problems. And there's no bigger problem than this right now. We have to get kids in our schools, and it affects every facet of learning for them. And the dashboard is just one tool, but it's a pretty powerful one, and we're excited about it. And I would just say this, that the governor has made it very clear about the importance of literacy in our state. And there's no more important thing that can help us make sure all kids can read. We should lead the country in literacy rates. And there's no more important tool to make sure kids are actually in school so they can learn how to read. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to the governor.
Thanks, Steve. Thank you very much. Ultimately, schools will get out of this what they put into it, and that really is the same thing for the community. What we have seen is that when schools decide to focus on improving attendance, they can have a positive impact. They can move the numbers, and they can move the numbers fairly quickly. A couple of examples. East Cleveland City Schools. I talked about this in my State of the State speech. 2 years ago, more than 63% of the students there were chronically absent, 63%. Nearly 2 out of every 3 students. School leaders decided simply something had to be changed. They started asking students and families directly, why are our students missing school? Why are your children missing school? And they started getting answers. They learned that many students actually wanted to be in school, but they were facing real barriers, transportation challenges, health issues, difficult situations at home, and other reasons. So the district actually changed its approach. East Cleveland has started using attendance data to identify students at risk of chronic absenteeism. If a student misses just a couple of days, staff reaches out immediately to the family to find out why and how the school can help, sometimes even visiting families in their homes. Their approach shows that they care about what is happening in the student's life. By being more proactive, they have had an immediate impact. East Cleveland reduced chronic absenteeism by more than 10% last year. Those numbers are on track to go down again this year. Another district that has taken action is Union Local Schools in Belmont County. Last year, they had a chronic absentee rate of 29.1%. Like East Cleveland, they also began tracking their attendance patterns closely and opening lines of communication with students and with their families. They started providing incentives for students who have actually improved attendance. Over time, their chronic absence rate has decreased nearly 6% just since last year. Now, while these numbers are not huge, they are movement, and it does show what can be done when the community and the school focuses on the problem. What do we want? We want more districts to be constantly monitoring attendance and asking what they can do to improve the situation. I think that's really the power of this dashboard. It gives the information. For schools that are on it, they will be getting attendance data faster than ever so they can make real-time decisions. And everybody in the community will also have, and then local news media will also have the opportunity to see those numbers. So we urge every school in Ohio to join the dashboard. The more data that each school and community have, the more innovative and collaborative they can be to solve this huge problem in Ohio. They can identify problems early, they can intervene, and even create community partnerships to help make sure students are supported and in school. We still have a lot of work to do. but this is a very strong first step. I want to thank the director and the team of the Department of Education, as well as the Stay in the Game Attendance Network. Thank you all for your good work. And thank you to the educators, families, and community leaders who are working to keep Ohio students present, engaged, and on track for success. Let me now say, before I take questions, just the final conclusion is this is a problem that affects schools across the state. There's not one school it does not impact in some way. Some schools have a more challenging situation than other schools do. It can be solved. We've shown and we know that it can be solved at the local level, or at least it can be dramatically improved at the local level. This information is for the local community. This information is for the local taxpayers who are paying for their school. This is for the parents in the local school. They now can go right and see in real time what's going on in their particular school. That really is the power of this information. And we believe it will be a big incentive for schools to really focus on this. As the director said, there are some schools that are not yet on it. We would urge every school to get on it. Some schools want to be on. Some of the bigger schools, for example, want to be on, but we've got a technical problem that they're trying to get worked out. Sadly, we have a few schools who don't seem to have a technical problem. They just have not gotten on. And I think once it becomes apparent to the local community that a school is not on, and schools made a choice not to be on, I think this is information that will be demanded by taxpayers, be demanded by citizens, be demanded by parents. Happy to answer any questions.
I know that you guys have 700 odd buildings, but how many actual districts are participating?
Steve?
Sure. So I think the first slide pointed out the number of districts participating. I think it's 694. If I go back to look at my slide.
Not districts.
Schools and districts, 694 are participating.
School districts.
Yeah.
And so you're not mandating this at this point?
It's not mandated. We don't have the power to mandate at this point, but I think that every school will want to be on this. And if they don't want to be on it, I think their taxpayers will want them to be on it. I mean, look, this is public information that people should have. Should not be denied to the public. We made it easy now to do. Now, there are schools, as I said, I want to be very fair, there are schools that want to get on it and haven't been able to technically get on it, and they're going to work their way through that, and that will put them on. And some of the ones that are not on are some of the bigger schools. So if you look at the total numbers, you know, those numbers, once those bigger schools are on, then we're going to have a better picture of what's going on, statewide at least. Yes?
So has there been any link between chronic absenteeism and any kind of youth violence? Are we hoping if we can get a better handle on kids who are absent, that maybe we'll see some kids steering away from violence and that violence going down? I mean, do you think there's any correlation there?
I don't have any data on that, but I think any principal can tell you that. Any police department can tell you that. I mean, if kids are not in school, doesn't mean they're out committing crime, but it's certainly not a positive thing.
Dayton Public Schools is one of several districts that doesn't provide direct yellow school buses to their high schoolers. Is there any correlation between absenteeism and direct school transportation?
We have seen and heard both anecdotally and in terms of data where children find challenges getting transported to school, there is a corresponding dip in attendance.
There's been some criticism at recent Department of Education and workforce meetings of the state report card system as being too lenient, potentially. East Cleveland was brought up, talked about their absentee rates, their graduation rate is 1 star, early literacy is 1 star, overall 3 stars. Is the system too lenient?
So the system that we have measures what's been important to date. That'll be a conversation for another administration, another legislature. Right now, it gives us a snapshot of how districts and schools are performing in our state based on the current metrics.
So can parents access this online?
I'm sorry?
Yes.
Can parents access?
Oh,
Parents
yes,
assess it.
yes.
How do you deal with like kind of like right now, a lot of places are in spring break? Is it not considered an absence? It's just not going to be counted this week?
Yes, that's, and obviously lots of schools and districts have different calendars. And so we've been working through that to make sure that we're not tracking data that, for example, when they're on spring break. We built that into the system.
Would this eventually be used, I'm sorry, would this eventually be used like the day, there's twice a year where you have the student count for enrollment? Could this kind of be used in that once all the districts are on?
Yeah, at this point in time, that is not the use of this particular tool. Yeah.
But could it be?
We'd have to look at that on down the road. We just have literally have stood this up in the last few months. But right now, the purpose of this tool is to track and look at trends in our schools and districts and start that community conversation about what's going on in a school or at a particular grade
But
level.
it's school reported, right?
Yes, this is all school
All the data's
reported.
coming from the individual school.
Right, yes, yes.
So if they've got the data, they should.
Director,
Go ahead.
you first.
No, it seems like some of the larger schools like Cleveland, Columbus, Cincinnati aren't heat on this. I guess, does that affect your ability to like assess trends? Is there anything that we can take from this data without some of those big districts in it?
Yeah, there's little question, given the size of those districts, that it impacts the statewide data trends. I will tell you, I've had a couple conversations with a couple of superintendents in those districts, and they are interested in getting there. Again, they have some challenges around data, because they report their data differently than many other districts do. It's just a function of the data system.
And kind of looking at the overall size, I mean, we're looking at right now 22% around is the average statewide, which is lower, right, than last report card, which was closer to 25%. I mean, does that mean that they're having gains overall, or does that mean just the ones that are participating probably have better attendance records?
Yeah, I think it's remember how this plays out. So these are trends, real trends happening right now. And so theoretically, by the end of the year, if this trend would hold, that would be accurate. Now, having addressed the second question, and that is that's the trend only supporting those who are participating now in this dashboard. So that's the caveat for this at this point in time.
So you said before that, schools have taken, you should easily them, they've taken their absence and been able to actually kind of move the needle here.
Mhm.
So what are some things that communities, I guess, or school districts could implement that might actually help them move those numbers and make chronic absenteeism less of a thing in their districts?
Yeah, and I think that's the beauty of this tool, because it localizes those decisions. Because they're going to vary by city, by county, by places in Ohio, and that's why the best decisions can be made at the local level regarding those particular issues. And you heard a couple that the governor talked about with East Cleveland and Union. Those are kind of good examples where they identified the problem, and then they created solutions based on their kids and their community.
Let me just say that measuring things, by and large, is good. And knowing where you are is good. And there is an incentive for all of us, not just the schools, but there's an incentive for all of us when we see something in writing and we look at that and say, well, that's what our number is. Can't we do better than that? And so, and making that public is better. The schools, as the director said, the schools who have made progress have not all done the same things, but they have all focused on it. And so what our request for every school in the state is, look at your number, focus on it, figure out why, multiple reasons why young people are not in school at a higher rate, and then based upon why, what the problem is, take specific actions in the community to change that. East Cleveland talks about, sometimes they send somebody out. Why? What's going on? And some of these things are beyond, frankly, beyond the ability of the family, maybe. Okay, what do we as a community do to increase that rate? So this is a tool. It's nothing more than a tool, but it's a tool that we believe will spur more action. Anybody else?
Governor or Director, what are the reasons you're hearing from teachers, superintendents, others about why the students aren't making it to school, and how do you address that?
Yeah, I think the governor hit on that earlier. There's just a variety of reasons. Some of it's transportation, sometimes it's, challenges around maybe what's going on in a young person's life. So there's just a myriad of reasons. That's why there's no one solution to it. And this is why it's so important to have a tool available for local communities to wrestle with and figure out the root causes in their community. And again, it could be very different, and it could be very different in rural Ohio than it is in Columbus, Ohio, or Northeast Ohio. So that's why this tool is tailor-made for local folks to come together and figure out, first of all, highlighting the issue, that we have an issue, and then secondly, what do we do about it? As adults in our community, how do we care for our kids, kind of thing.
Is there any value, is there any value in doing this also with private schools, and is there any intention of doing that within your administration?
I think we'll see how this works. It could be valuable to them, and in discussions with them, we'll see what they want to do. Yeah.
Real quickly, if a school or a school district has a particularly bad chronic absenteeism rate, would there be any state either assistance or penalty if they keep consistently doing it badly?
Well, it's in our accountability system. Chronic absenteeism is one of the things that we report on, but there's not a particular sanction, if that's what you're looking for. There's not a particular sanction for it. Yeah, yeah. And
So look, I mean, we really do think we're always willing to help, but we really do think it has to start at the local school. I mean, these things are very specific things, multiple things, many times. And the school, as a community, taking this on as a project is an important thing to do. Community involved, we think, is the way to go at it. We really believe that. Yeah.
Is there a plan to have any funding involved in this, or is there any state funding that goes towards supporting chronic absenteeism, or is there anything that money could help some schools combat that?
So again, our partnerships help a lot, but we didn't use any additional state money to do these things. This is money that's already in the system, and through our partnership with the Stay in the Game Network, they assisted, and also Patel assisted.
There's been a lot of discussion about property tax and property tax levies. Do you think this is information that voters should consider when voting on a levy?
Well, voters might consider this, certainly might become a topic, and that's not all bad. Again, if it does become a topic, again, that's more incentive for everyone to say, hey, we got a problem, we need to go solve the problem. I mean, you can't solve a problem unless you know you have a problem. And this will help communities understand if their school has a problem. I mean, we could talk about the state rates. Those are interesting, those are important, but drilling down to what is going on in the individual school, the individual building, is really the most important thing. Okay, thanks, everybody.